Today, Ukraine's drones keep making headlines across the world. Long-range strike drones are hitting deep into Russian territory. FPV kamikaze drones are dominating tactical battles, and massive bomber drones like the Baba Yaga are turning the tide on the tactical level. Ukraine has become a recognized leader in modern drone warfare, not only using them to de-Russify the invaders on its own territory, but also exporting them internationally. But just 3 years ago, none of this existed. Everything started with a single drone that became legendary, the Turkish-made Bayraktar TB-2. Dear friends, welcome to the Weapons of War, and today we will talk about this legendary drone. The Bayraktar TB-2, developed by the Turkish company Baykar, performed its first takeoff in June 2009. 2 years later, by December 2011, the joint venture Kale-Baykar acquired a contract with the Turkish defense. What do we know about this drone? The TB-2 is a medium-range and long-endurance UAV that was designed for surveillance and reconnaissance missions. It has an impressive service ceiling of 22,000 feet or about 6.7 kilometers and an operational altitude of 16,000 feet or almost 5 kilometers. With an endurance of over 20 hours, it can travel at speeds ranging from 70 to 120 knots or up to 220 kilometers per hour. The maximum takeoff weight is approximately 700 kilograms and a payload of 150 kilograms. This allows Bayraktar to carry 4 laser-guided smart munitions that can be either bombs or missiles or both. In June 2022, Azerbaijan announced its decision to purchase those drones from Turkey. And during 2020, the Nagorno-Karabakh war, these drones were used against the Armenian forces with absolutely notable success. Azerbaijan employed TB-2s to destroy Armenian artillery, also strike infantry positions, and military vehicles, including BM-30 Smerch MLRS, T-72 tanks, BMP-1, BMP-2, and notably, according to the updates and aerial footage released during this conflict, we know that at least 9 Soviet-made Asa and Strela-10 air defense systems were also destroyed by Azerbaijani drones, most likely TB-2s. And generally speaking, those were meant to actually protect the Armenian troops against the air threats such as Bayraktar. We know that one of the most significant operations occurred when Azerbaijani forces used TB-2 to target and destroy a convoy of Armenian vehicles, and they effectively crippled a key supply line that demonstrated that drones' precision and effectiveness in combat is unmatched. So what did Ukraine do? Well, impressed by its performance, Ukrainian top leadership decided to procure the TB-2 drones to improve its defense capabilities. Generally speaking, TB-2 Bayraktar was an extremely attractive option for enhancing Ukraine's surveillance and combat operations. And only a couple years after that, my friends, the Russian dictator Putin, currently an internationally wanted war criminal, takes an absolutely suicidal decision to invade Ukraine. So in the first weeks of Russia's invasion in 2022, the situation obviously didn't look good for the Ukrainian defenders, despite the numerous strategic mistakes made by the Russian invaders. They used prevailing numbers of troops and vehicles, and they were advancing rapidly, basically capturing vast areas of Ukrainian territory and pushing closer and closer to Kyiv every single day. I bet, my dear friends, that you remember all those long, never-ending convoys of Russian tanks, supply vehicles that seemed truly unstoppable as they rolled across Ukrainian roads. For many, it felt like an overwhelming wave. The public outside Ukraine, for example, was incessantly brainwashed by talking heads like Douglas McGregor, predicting Ukraine's collapse in just 2 more weeks, and morale inside and outside Ukraine was understandably shaking. Just to note, Russia generally hates Western military, however, Douglas McGregor remains the most quoted American commentator on the Russian TV for obvious reasons. But then something changed, my friends. On February 27, 2022, Ukraine's military deployed the Bayraktar TB-2 drone against the Russian forces for the very first time. The target was a Russian Buk surface-to-air missile system northwest of Kyiv. This strike was a success, and for the first time, Ukrainians, as well as the international community, saw the tide wasn't completely against them. The footage of this operation quickly spread on the internet and became a rallying point for the Ukrainian armed forces, as well as Ukrainian people and the international community as well. Equipped with laser-guided munitions, the TB-2 was designed to take out high-value targets like tanks, artillery and air defense systems, and of course Russian commanders as well. And all that with pinpoint accuracy. In a war where every resource mattered, especially during the first months, this drone was a perfect fit because it was affordable, reliable, and deadly. One of the most notable strikes was against a Russian convoy heading towards Kyiv, and the TB-2 destroyed several vehicles, including fuel trucks and armored carriers, and almost daily the Bayraktar footage was showing its bombs and missiles disrupting the Russian advance and forcing the convoy to stop. For Russian troops, these drones became a constant threat. They were operating invisibly above the Russian terrorists and striking them with high precision. For Ukrainians, seeing those strikes offered a much-needed morale boost, proving that the invading forces could be hurt and slowed down. Fun fact, nowadays a lot of supporters of the Russian terrorism claim that 40-mile-long Russian convoy heading to Kyiv wasn't actually meant to take control over the Ukrainian capital. Well, if it's true that the brilliant idea of Putin was literally to burn all his elite troops in Kyiv Oblast without taking the capital, what a great plan. Anyways, despite the success, it was obvious that Ukraine yet had a really hard task of destroying thousands of Russian vehicles in order to slow down the Russian invasion. This obviously required more drones like Bayraktar, which Ukraine couldn't afford at that point, but the world actively engaged in helping Ukrainian defenders. And in June 2022, a group of Finnish citizens decided that they should do something to help Ukraine defend itself. Those people were, of course, inspired by Ukraine's use of Bayraktar drones, and eventually they launched a crowdfunding campaign called Bayraktar for Ukraine. I remember those days, and to me personally, it still serves as absolutely incredible symbol of solidarity and friendship between the two European nations. And my friends, it's not just about a drone, it's about the power of people that come together in the time of need and prove that even in the darkest moments of the war, humanity can prevail. And, my friends, it's not surprising that Bayraktar became a part of Ukrainian folklore.
Bayraktar, Bayraktar.
The story of the Bayraktar song began in the early months of the war when Ukrainian soldiers, as well as Ukrainian civilians, were looking for a symbol of resistance. The Bayraktar TB-2 drones successfully proved the world that Ukraine could fight back. As these drones continued to deliver crucial hits against the Russian invading forces, killing the Russian commanders and disrupting logistics, a catchy, upbeat song emerged almost spontaneously. It quickly turned into a true anthem for the soldiers and for the entire country. And even beyond the country, you can enjoy this song as well, my friends. You can find it on the YouTube and also in the description. But as the war evolved, so did Ukrainian tactics. The Bayraktar TB-2, while still effective and still deadly, was gradually replaced by more advanced drones capable of striking deeper into the Russian territory. The last news update on Ukraine using Bayraktar drones against the Russian terrorists was published in October 2023, that is more than a year ago. It was highlighted that while these drones were instrumental in Ukraine's early military successes, their effectiveness had diminished due to the enhanced Russian air defenses. However, we know that the drones are still operational, according to the reports from the Ukrainian Military Intelligence Directorate, and they are primarily used to conduct reconnaissance missions. And while there were no more major updates or dramatic footage involving Bayraktar, its legacy still lives on. The war had shifted itself, and Ukraine is now using long-range drones, and many of them are domestically produced, to strike Russian targets far behind enemy lines. But despite this shift, Bayraktar remains a symbol in Ukrainian culture, becoming a legend in the very first days of the war, when the Western world wasn't truly sure if Ukraine could hold its ground. The Bayraktar may no longer roam above the front lines as a combat drone, but it performed a successful landing in Ukrainian history and the hearts of its people and supporters. Dear friends, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the commentaries. I'm Operator Starsky. As always, be safe.